Great. May I have a copy of the minutes?
Well, that's the agenda. not
Oh, the agenda,
minutes.
sorry, excuse me. See, I'm already confused. Okay, so we'll call this meeting to an order. We definitely have a quorum here. And any adjustments to the agenda?
I just want to add one thing. Joe Garnacha made revisions to our timeline, which is on the website, which
Okay,
I will share with you after this.
okay, sure.
And
I brought copies so that people can. talk
oh,
about
that's
it in
good.
general.
Hey, all right,
Yeah.
so add that to it.
Okay. I'm pulling up the,
She sent second minutes, didn't she, with amendments?
It was, yeah, I remember reading that.
I made two tiny
I'm
little
not
changes. I figured
sure.
I'd send them to her instead of,
Those coming through because there were two sets of minutes.
Right, so Beck sent it some today, so that's the.
yeah, and
next.
I just corrected one number from 2 to 3 and a statement that I made. That's all. It's very minor, but I can say what they are if you'd like me to.
There's
I'm
the
just saying for
agenda.
if Mike's gonna.
well, I'll just approve whatever changes you submitted. And are there any other changes to the minutes?
So, no,
So
then I
all
don't-
in favor of adopting the minutes from last meeting
As modified.
as modified?
As modified.
Thank you. Running on the fly. Okay.
I find that phrase comes in handy.
On the fly.
Oh, no, as modified.
Any citizen comments? Oh, anyone online?
Nope, nope, that's just us.
Okay. Okay, old business, town updates. So we can hear from you about that or just
Well,
you can all
Julie's,
summarize?
Julie's not here, but park name, Dominic River Community Park was chosen name. Yay,
Yay.
finally there's.
That was good.
It's,
I like it.
I like it
I like
too.
it
I
too.
mean, yes, we
See
say
her.
Madomic a lot, but that's where it is. So
Yeah. Straight to the point.
Now that it's named, are we going to get a sign up?
But, I mean, there is the renaming of the committee and other branding options later for new business, so that's an option.
That's right.
Okay, yeah, let's come back to that.
Okay.
We could put a future site of.
Mm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Grant, is there any updates on that?
I'm working on the Yellow Book appraisal so that we should be all set to do a land water conservation fund grant in June. Then that's,
if they have money.
they,
So far, they're there, right?
they're there.
Okay,
They tell me I need to apply, so I'm going on it.
yeah.
What is that? How much is that for and what does that cover?
We can ask for up to 500,000 if we have a $500,000 match, which
Oh, okay.
I'll say we do. And that's just anything park related. So it can be the parking area, it can be putting in the tennis courts or basketball courts. It would be a phase one, really. Like we'd have our idea of what we want to be on that concrete pad. And even if it's just putting in like one court and some parking, that's eligible.
So that's very important
Yeah.
and
It would be a big step if we actually get that yellow book, or not yellow book, the land water conservation.
and maybe you just said this, but what was the possibility about that on that?
The application is due at the end of June and it keeps getting funded every year. And we've been told to apply. The timeline's still there, so
This is state funding,
federal.
federal.
So that's why I'm still on the edge, but I'm still working towards it just in case we can get that money.
And do they fund a number of projects in each state? How are the funds allocated?
Usually there is like some, I think it's region based.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they regional?
And so were there a handful that were received in this region last year?
I'd have to look how much were done last year, but I don't think Maine ever gets too many requests nowadays.
Oh.
Or gives too many requests
Oh,
nowadays.
right,
Sorry.
right, okay.
Now, Max, did you just say that this is a matching? Is that the one
Yes.
you're talking about? So they have to be obviously funds generated
Yes.
But
here.
it can be in kind also?
It can be in kind, but we also have our TIF program that can be used for this as well. And that's why I say we do have our match and it's the TIF.
It's a lot of
Okay.
basketballs.
So if we do get the grant funding, we can use some of the TIF or other funds that I will probably have to scramble to find. As always.
And is that something that you hear about like within months, within a year?
I think
After
August,
application?
I think August
Okay.
is when we hear.
Okay.
Before we segue too far off of signs, does it make sense to think about sign, if we had a temporary sign to kind of tie in with the new town signs that might be getting decided on soon?
Yeah, can we come back to it
Yeah.
at the end?
Can I ask one question though related to the grant and the sign? Does it matter that we don't have approval from the town for the park? I mean, is that what we're trying to get on the November ballot, or is that just for the design and?
I think it was more of a design, but we can just. Well, we have our initial idea from Pine Tree Engineering, and
Yeah.
that's all we can really, that's what we can go based on.
So
Or we could even do like a more safe thing, like just the parking and that green space in the very far back. Like land water conservation is a rather broad thing, as long as it's outdoor recreation focused.
Yeah. But
Are you saying that we need some official vote that it is to be a park rather than something else?
yeah, I'm assuming maybe we don't, but I just was wondering that since we haven't had that vote, if it
No,
matters at all.
no, it's really just showing that, I mean, it's gonna be point based, I mean, it might help, but we can put something in.
But we've had a lot of votes that are around that idea.
Yeah, what are we asking in
So,
November? What's
We
the
had a
question?
vote on different, or not even a vote, just different uses, right?
Right.
But we've never
That was an
had,
opinion vote. That
right,
was,
that was opinion,
Opinion,
but
okay.
if are we asking in November for approval of?
Something?
I mean,
The
the
park.
master plan being approved is gonna be more about just saying, hey, this is what we're gonna be working towards. People are fine with this, right? It's not gonna be a binding. I mean, yeah, if that type of design gets voted down, we'd go back and try and change how
So
things
it's
are
more on
done.
the design we're gonna present us.
Yeah,
not
it's
the
more on the
idea of the
design.
park.
We're not
Okay,
asking
just
for
clear.
money either.
We're not asking for money from residents,
Right.
not now.
Okay. All right, thank you.
So is that going on the November ballot then?
The grant,
The design?
Well, approval to go ahead with the park where the town's gonna be putting resources into it, right? Isn't that what we're asking?
yeah.
So we would need to know that the food pantry's going ahead by then. And
Hopefully.
we have to
Yeah.
know what we're doing with Hops's house way
Mm,
before
That
that.
can be separate.
well, no, because I feel the Hoff's house and the Sylvania. I'm talking about just the concrete pad.
Oh,
That's all I'm talking about, or
Alright.
this grant.
okay, but
No,
no,
but-
we're talking about November.
design.
What are we asking the public to approve or say okay about in November?
Do we have?
Well, that
Where
I
are
guess
we?
that would be up to us, but you were just asking if in order to receive this grant or in order
Or
to.
to put up a sign, future home of the Madomic River Community Park. I'm just,
Well, we own the parcel already, so
Right.
we can name it whatever we want.
and we're
Right, that's
assuming
true.
that the park will be
Yeah.
okay with the public. I just was wondering
Well,
on sequence.
And I don't think we've heard too much pushback from people
Not
with the idea of a
much.
park, so
No.
I don't think it's it. But I'm sorry, Mike, you were.
No, that's okay. And I think, is that
Yeah,
fair enough?
I find it just seems a little
But the
vague.
question remains, what are we asking for?
Yeah,
And,
What-
or
what
do
hap-
we need to do anything? I don't know.
Well,
unless we're asking for funds.
Because we're putting the website up soon, so that's gonna be a big informational push. Then. Is it gonna generate?
Well, this wasn't on the agenda, but yeah, what are we asking for in November?
What's,
Just approval.
what's
public-
required of the citizenry to make this happen?
well, expenditure of money, that's gonna be a definite trigger that will,
Yep.
that will be one thing. So, and I don't think that happens in the fall, that happens at the town meeting.
For the
So,
budgets, yeah,
but at the, when we approve the town budget,
right.
so we're looking at a year and not necessarily November.
Right.
I mean, I think it would honestly be good to have a vote just to see the pulse of the town on the idea of the park.
Another opinion
As-
survey then?
But
Not opinion, just that you approve of having a park on the Sylvania.
But I wonder if there's other ways to ask for that approval through the website, through some forums.
If we don't need it, then maybe that's
And
better.
not put it on the ballot
Yeah,
until it
I-
becomes tied to a question of the budget or money or something
Yeah.
like that
Yeah.
later
So
on.
I would agree with Mike.
Okay, I'm just thinking of building support, the idea.
Yeah.
And funders, if you knew that 70% of the town said, yes, great idea. It seems like
Yeah,
we just don't have that, but
The
that's
idea of a
okay.
park for children and sports, I think that will be well received,
I
just
do
as
too.
long as it doesn't cost them.
Right, and that we're gonna look for money through grants and donors
Right.
and contribution.
there'll be a lot of support for it.
Yeah, I think the major way now is this website, to get the word out.
Okay.
So before we move on to that, there's no other grants, but we have not heard from the National Park Service yet, in case anyone is wondering. They did say April, so it could be
End of April.
end of
Yeah.
April.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you. Yeah.
Question.
Yeah,
When you get the grant money, do you have to have the town already signed off on the idea, Max?
It would be saying, it's kind of like the Northern Borders grant that I had to go for. Where I don't believe we have to have it on hand right then and there. But a commitment saying, if we get the grant, we will get the match ready if we need it.
It's a chicken and egg thing.
but we do have a lot of support, through these opinion polls and other means
Yeah.
Yeah.
that we have used in other grants.
We're just trying to figure out what has to happen for once we go, do we have to get approval when we go to get grants? Or after we get the grants?
In this case, I believe it's gonna be after.
If we're asking for money.
Yeah, if I'm asking for $500,000 and they say, well, how are you gonna pay for this? I'll say we have a TIF just in case. And if we don't get the grant, it's a moot point.
Right.
If we do get the grant and we have to show where our 500 is coming from, then that's probably gonna be when I have to do a special town meeting or
I
select board
see.
meeting to use the TIF funding to pay it off.
And how much is available through the TIF? Might be available?
I mean, it also depends when I'd have to have the money ready by. Do I have to have it ready by October or do I have to have it ready by next summer when we'd actually be building this project?
I mean, I think we could almost use the opinion survey on what types of uses as, nobody was saying we don't want a park that answered that. So there was clear support for the idea of a park. I suppose we could just go with that for the time being anyway.
I mean, I think we don't know. I can't do anything else at this point.
Or we could actually get it on June at voting day, we could actually start a petition, just.
Petition around what?
Do you approve, how do you feel about having a park? Great, sign your name.
Oh, right, but
More of a survey and not.
But you have a petition for a vote, yeah, unless that's. a
Well,
survey.
petition's the wrong word. We collect signatures as to approve I don't know.
I don't want
Must
to
be some way
make, let's
to-
not make this overthink it,
Yeah,
yeah,
Please.
yeah.
Okay,
because
Yeah.
we could sit here and, I'm 73, I don't want to be sitting down.
I don't think the
no fun.
Okay, well, so moving on to the
I wanna keep
website,
going.
moving on to the website then, the website will serve all these functions.
Yeah.
So we have to talk about how we're gonna construct it and all that, but why don't we just go to the, document that you.
Okay, yeah, this is addressing only one page of the website, and I assume somebody else is gonna be doing the others, like putting up the product that we got from Pine Tree Engineering and things like that, and a description of where it is and how to
Right.
get there, and all those things that are usually there. This is only to address the lingering doubt in the public's mind about what's on the site that might be bad. And I have a few copies. I only made a few. If you can share. I've got one.
I have it here.
Yeah,
here's another one, anybody?
I've got. I want one minute, sure. Okay, work on a document like this is never done. And the reason, and I'll tell you why, when I was looking at this document, I looked up at the ceiling here, just thinking about it, and I said, my God, there are filaments in fluorescent light bulbs, and I don't know for a fact that they manufactured filaments for incandescent light bulbs. So I want to strike the word incandescent from this text.
Mhm.
So the one thing that I really want to do is make sure that everything that is on this page
Yeah.
is 100% correct.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So you want to delete
the
this
word
one?
incandescent should come out.
Okay.
And I know, and Janet, you and Joe had some questions and comments, and I'm entirely open to discussing them.
Oh, are they not in here?
I did address a couple of them. A couple there was one I couldn't answer. I know that you asked about whether there were any brand names that people would recognize that these chemicals might be in. I don't know. I don't know, and therefore I didn't try to add one.
Yeah.
There are other names for some of these chemicals.
Right.
Like, tetrachloroethene is also known as tetrachloroethylene. It's also known as PCE or perchloroethylene. It's got a lot of different
Oh, yeah.
names, you know, and I just wanted to use the same ones that DEP and US
yeah.
EPA uses.
Parallel structure or whatever. Yeah, you gotta be consistent with that.
And the only other thing that I thought of was working on my tractor today, and I said, my gosh, I use moly lube on my tractor, which is molybdenum sulfide, disulfide. So I want to add that to the toxicity section. It's a very common lubricant. Other than that, I tried to incorporate everybody's ideas.
Can I ask you, Mike,
Sure.
second question, molybdenum is necessary for certain human enzymes?
Sure.
Sounds very mysterious. Is there a way to say that simpler? What?
Well,
It's a like it's part of people's bodies already?
your body's run on enzymes. There's an enzyme from everything.
But that's like a vitamin, a mineral or something that you know.
No, it's something that the body produces to
produces.
do something.
Okay.
And when I was in college, I worked on NAKATPase, which is an enzyme that controls the pumping of sodium and potassium inside the cell. Okay, and it's only activated by magnesium. It's a protein that, you know, when everybody thinks of enzymes, you think of laundry detergent because they all have enzymes.
Right.
You're right. I can't think.
But you say it's necessary for certain human enzymes. So in other words, some people are deficient in it, some people are, need more. I mean, what's the-
Molybdenum deficiency just doesn't happen because it's ubiquitous. Molybdenum in soils typically is 1 or 2 parts per million.
Well, how about molybdenum is common in, in human beings or something,
I Googled it.
Yeah.
Molybdenum is a chemical element and essential trace mineral that's found in many foods and used in industrial applications,
So
which
Yeah.
would be more descriptive.
or just say it's a common something or other.
I
Yeah,
thought that
I
was
just
good.
found,
found in many foods.
It
And
is
a chemical,
found,
essential trace mineral, chemical element and essential trace mineral.
I see what you're saying, Barbara, how it reads. After reading it
yeah,
like
it's
2 or
not
3
a big
times.
deal,
Hey, I
but
don't wanna-
it's,
Go ahead.
I don't want to talk in chem speak, but that's my language.
No.
Yeah.
I know. It's
so I've been grade 2 here. You're gonna bring it to my
An
level.
essential, what do you call it? An essential,
Inside?
A chemical element and essential trace mineral that's found in
trace mineral.
many foods.
Are commonly found in the environment?
And used in industrial applications.
Trying to bring down the level of heartburn. Is that what you're doing? Well. Yeah. Because the person on the street would read that last sentence and really not, what does that really mean?
Yeah.
That's just what you're saying.
We're on the first paragraph.
Where are we? On the second question,
Second question.
last sentence.
Where is it? Yeah, here's
You got it?
our times down the
Yeah,
road.
yeah.
Yep,
Yeah, thanks.
I couldn't read it upside down.
It's trace mineral, all right.
So lead bands, that's just their thing, all capital letters, huh? That's.
Yeah,
how they
that's
write
how
it.
yeah, okay. Huh. I'm looking at Joe's comments and I feel like we should incorporate a bunch of them.
So did Joe look at this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Code Gornach.
There's a
Right.
big red
Bernard,
line
yeah,
version and I thought it was, just, it clarifies. Because I feel like somebody could go back in the records and feel like this is not comprehensive enough, personally. I mean,
This is not supposed to be comprehensive, you
No,
know, and
but-
if we want to add pages that contain, for example, the latest report from, what was the name of the company that
Oh,
is doing it
Sanborn,
for
yeah.
Lev? What's the name of the company?
Sanborn, yeah.
Sanborn Hill, that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
If we want to include that as a separate, you know, searchable item on the webpage, that's fine. But this
Link
is like
to-
an intro. This is like an
Yeah.
intro, that's all.
No, but like, for instance, one, I don't know, the questions aren't the same, so I don't know when that changed, but is the site safe? And he said, yes, DP determined that with compliance to the covenant, the site is currently safe and it could be redeveloped in a manner that is safe for people and the environment. And to me, that's clear.
Yeah,
It's just more clearly written than MDP via the environmental covenant associated with the property.
run through it. I was, I,
So
I don't know.
I think that, well, all the
We don't need
information that
words
Mike
like
has
that.
provided is extremely useful because it does lean into a very scientific way of looking at it,
Right.
without getting deeper into the weeds.
Yeah.
So I think that it's actually necessary to include some of this. But then we can sort of maybe reframe with some of the sentences, Janet, that are popping out to you. In fact, this sounds like a wonderful product for ChatGPT. Be honest with you.
that's what I was saying.
And
Make
and
this
obviously
easier.
with double checking all along. And I think that we can also for the website, we can also front load this kind of document with
Links.
foregrounding images of how families and children will be using the site.
Hmm.
If my child digs into the ground, is there a problem? This is the way people are thinking about. They're not thinking about what is this enzyme or what is it doing? You know, I mean, some of them are, but in general.
So I would start with the statement, this document addresses the health concerns related to future use of the Sylvania site as a park. Or whatever you want, to that effect, the lead in.
Yeah, exactly. Because also, I mean, sure, if you like dug into the ground under this building too, you could come up with all sorts of stuff that would be problematic to some people. So the site is getting extra attention because we know that something toxic happened in an everyday sense based on the work that was done. That's what the difference is. But it's not dangerous in any of the ways that are going to prevent use, or at least that's what we need to focus on communicating. And then I think we can use all of these details within that framework. But there are certain things that I think we could clarify. You know, when groundwater is slowly moving towards the west and the river, can we say like underneath to an extent that would never, you know, be accessible to someone digging?
We can think, I
You
don't
know,
know.
I mean, these are the kinds of images that would pop for people, you know, like, wait a minute, you're telling me there's something that's moving slowly.
It is,
Oh,
and
it's
contaminated
really-
the soil.
That was an absolutely true statement.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just like, well, there's a lot of things underneath the earth that would kill you if you touch, that had nothing to do with lead or Sylvania, you know?
Yeah, right.
So I want people to understand that this is a naturally occurring danger too.
No,
not with
I
these
don't think we
chemicals per
should
se,
down,
but-
I don't think we should down, we should just be completely honest with, like, the groundwater is contaminated and it's moving towards the river. And unfortunately, you know, I was reading the 1999 thing, that is not all true. You know, because we know that it's still migrating and it's on the adjacent property and probably poses a risk to anyone who wanted to drill a well down near the river. On the adjacent
Okay,
property.
so. and
So we
stuff like-
don't
yeah.
wanna, you know, if somebody wants to dig in, hopefully they won't, they can find some red flags. But that's deep down, that's not gonna affect the.
Right, but that's a good image. Like if you were doing, we wouldn't suggest digging a well, you know?
No,
It's
we-
prohibited,
I
actually.
don't think
Well,
you
right,
wanna
but-
even say that, but I'm just saying.
Well,
if-
I'm just trying to find ways to give people like images that they recognize, you know, like, oh, not as deep as a well, but like I can go a foot, right?
I
You
think-
know?
I think when we're talking about this summary, it really is just, it was where the Sylvania site was, but we're exploring to have a park and potentially the food pantry there as well. And I think that's the line we need to keep thinking about when we're
And that
getting
the
these
covenant
FAQ
says there
questions.
aren't major risks to doing that.
right, like the question on
The farmer's market
drinking
idea.
water and whatnot. It's pointed out,
Right,
it's all gonna be on water, it's all gonna be
Yes,
on
right.
sewer, we don't have to worry about digging deep
Right.
for a hole or anything.
Like-
Anything that we're building is gonna have that connection to water.
right. I mean, yes, you can't have kids digging in the soil.
And, you know, we identified there are 2 landfills on the site. We are not gonna let children dig there.
Yeah.
Right,
is not gonna
but
happen.
exactly. So terms of nature play, is this an issue?
See, well, two things. Just to back up, I think we need a very general statement early on that answers all the questions, like that it will be safe. So like a general statement before they get into the specifics, like one statement that just puts them at ease, because some people won't get any further than that in
That's
terms
I
of their
think that
reading.
should be in the
getting at.
opening page.
Yeah.
I think that should be on the first page, not on.
Yes,
Yeah,
but
This is
then,
digging deeper.
right,
Yeah.
and then get into the specifics. And in terms of nature play, we could say things like the specific things like we wouldn't want children digging in this soil, but because we're incorporating a nature play area, we may create safe areas for digging.
We could bring in soil.
Yeah, where it's on
Yeah, like an
top.
above ground.
Yeah,
dig.
yeah, because I mean, this is,
Any play features will
okay.
yeah,
be
all play,
designed in such a way.
yes, that it won't be basically to let them know it's not an issue for the public's health, that this is all being taken into
It'll
consideration.
be capped.
I'd recommend, I mean, with Joe's comments, it's now a page and, well, it's about the same length, actually. So
Did
maybe,
we all receive Joe's
Yeah, I didn't,
comments?
I didn't.
I'm
see
No,
that.
I don't think you did.
yeah, I just feel like they,
So just you and
Just us three were on.
Okay.
it. Yeah.
we could share those before and then, I feel like what you have is really good, but I feel like he adds some pieces that are tied to the legal thing that I could see the
I
food.
didn't make this a PDF.
So why not
I would
hyperlink those
prefer to-
paragraphs
so
on
people
the,
would
on the
make their
website?
No,
edits.
no, I don't think that's,
Make their edits and send them to me.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
can everyone make edits and send it to Mike, and then Mike can send out a more final or draft?
And why don't I'll
then
share
share-
those comments, just so
Yes,
you have
please.
them, and then you can make your edit, because I feel like he and you are the experts. I mean, he was a remediation specialist for reckless sites and brownfield sites, so
Right.
his language and your language, I think, do the trick.
Uh, Okay, so, but
Except for. those that-
I'm asking Mike to produce the
The final.
working draft
Yeah.
that incorporates Joe's comments, but please circulate Joe's comments to everyone so that they would also see. And then once we have that, in the next, few weeks or a month or so, we can start thinking about it in relation to other pieces for the website. So let's just talk about that briefly. And then once we think about what other pieces are on the website, all the language is going to have to be finessed to read as one document, is one coherent statement. So I'm not worried about language. That's easy to do. At the end, as long as we have all the information that we want to use in producing that final version in the different components as they arrive. So that's what I'm asking for. Yeah.
And this is the guts, but the logos and the consistency of the website, I can't do that.
Don't worry
I've
about that.
never-
No,
I've
don't worry
never
about that. No,
designed
that's what I'm
a
saying.
website.
That's why I was making that
User
clarification.
friendly.
I don't even just put words on the page. It doesn't, that's all that we need. Yeah, don't worry about it.
The Economic Development Committee is in the middle of creating signage for the town.
Right.
And that should be a tie.
Right,
And-
okay,
and
but
no,
before we
and-
get, yes, I agree that there's a design element that we could incorporate there, but what other elements do we want to include on the website? I have a short list, this is from previous discussions, so it's a short scrollable website that contains a description of the project, which is something we've been using in various other documents, the results of the online community survey. We'd have to decide whether we want to include all the data or a summary of the data. I know there might be some.
Both could be done, I guess.
It's pretty
depends.
short, yeah.
Okay, stupid thing, but at the last town vote, I was amazed how many people said, where's that? So we need a location map.
Yeah, okay, so location map at the top,
The name that the students voted
Like,
for.
yes,
I got it
and
now.
the name, and also I will circulate, just so you know, the students voted on the name, with the aid of 4 descriptions that I wrote.
Okay.
So that they were thinking about the names, in relation to each other, let's say fairly. And so I will circulate that document to you all so you can see. Julie also posted part of it on the town's Facebook page when she announced the name, but it gives a like 3-sentence description of each name. And I wrote it in a way that each description was the same length and balanced in a similar way. I would love to have sort of seen or heard the discussion that they had about it, but you can see the information that they were given by us. It wasn't just a list of names. Okay, so location,
Let's look at that. What grades voted? You
4
know?
and 5 or 3 and 4? Or
Oh,
5
really?
and 6?
I would
I
hope
don't
Julie, I was hoping Julie would be here.
I think it might be on the website.
6, wasn't it?
Was she there?
I don't remember.
But she's just out there. I'm not sure
Okay,
if
so
there's
name,
anything else.
vote, and results. Okay, the results of the online community survey. A list and or visualization of some of the most popular elements that could be included.
Should come up with a few
Yep.
things.
And
Generic.
yeah, so this would be where we would bring in images of kind of nature play areas, as well as traditional images of courts, stuff that's easy to find. And also maybe pulling some ideas from the survey that are not included like in our pine tree engineering, and allow people to think more about those. I mean, skate park was actually mentioned a lot. And so I think we really should listen to that, whatever ends up, we don't know what ends up in the park, but I think at this point that is something that we need to reflect back to what as something that we're hearing. So maybe an image of a skate park and
On
along,
a picture, sorry,
Wow.
Freya, a picture of the view of the river,
okay, so you want
like from the potential
yeah.
trail piece.
so I think with the location map, we would include some photos of the site, some like location photos of the site.
I
Okay.
could take one if you want.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go down my list quickly. So elements of the park, potential elements of the park, popular elements. A rough trail map. Again, we have a version of that. We can have some more photos at that part with just in the woods.
Photo with the river.
Yeah.
Photo of the river, yeah.
But that could be sort of a header, you know.
Then we could include the pine tree engineering or simplified version of it, or at least something to say like, and we're thinking most seriously or at first about this part that's closest to the road, where we would probably use this funding for, because it's, well, literally the most concrete part of our plan, you know? But I think that's accurate. It's not, you're not lying. You're saying like, well, there's probably gonna be courts here and there's probably gonna be something you do here. So have some kind of architectural leaning in the direction of architectural drawing.
Yeah.
So I'm saying a little bit more serious than just an image of a park, right?
Well,
Yeah, you're.
yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be
Yeah.
kind of a blending of those. And then an easy interactive feedback component. So that allows people to maybe click on the images that they like or offer additional feedback.
You could also include a quick Google form, allowing for open-ended answers.
Yeah, in Google form, yeah. And then the only other thing here is actually something that we would hope maybe the National Park Service could help us with would be like, or color renderings of the park at different points and from different perspectives. So these are kind of like 3D visualizations that bring together an element, the design, and the actual place itself from the perspective of someone present.
It is kind of down the line. a
Yeah,
little
that's
bit.
down the line.
It's down the line. It's definitely the coolest thing, what
Yeah.
people really want to see.
So we'll see if we get the national park.
But it also kind of gets you locked into something as a product.
That's
and
true.
where we're
That's true.
Kind of working on.
Yeah,
but-
It would definitely be good to have when.
When we get farther along.
yeah. Okay, but I think everything else, we have all those other elements is doable and pretty comprehensive
Yeah,
of a
we have a website.
presentation of where we are.
Do we want to mention, not at all certain, but also a potential site perhaps for the food pantry? So that doesn't get sprung on people? I know
I
it's.
don't know. That's not up to me. I
I
mean-
think that'd be premature to put
Okay,
on the website, depending on when you actually put the website out. So I'm not sure where Jan is on, has Jan talked with you?
I've been talking to Heidi.
Heidi, oh, you've been talking with Heidi.
Yeah,
Okay, good. That's just as good.
She would like somebody from DEP to attend the meeting.
And- if it's the 20, I can't do that week, but 23rd.
So Heidi's been waiting for
But
this
we can
basically and
talk-
then.
Yeah.
but it'd be good to get
That's
to
what,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, who, do you have a contact there? I don't. Was it
At
Matt?
MD, Matt Luke,
Was it
Max
Matt
Lewick.
Lewick?
Max Luke.
Yeah,
Was it Matt or?
Max,
Is he
I
the
know, 'cause
only?
it's funny every time I have to send an
Max,
email.
Max Lewick.
It is, and we can talk about that after the meeting.
Did he
Okay.
do that email regarding,
Yeah.
Because I'd like
Chris's
this
kitchen?
flown by them
Yep.
before it goes out, so.
Okay.
Oh, that's.
That's right.
And I think in our description of the project up front, like part of that, or like sentence 4 is, this is an absolutely safe endeavor. We sent the statement right up front, and then we can link to this additional information elsewhere. Or maybe pull out a few points we make in that and embed them in this sort of wall of the elements I said, but not everything, but have that accessible. So
Okay, so one of the things I had sent back to you, Sledgy, now that I wasn't sure who Sledgy was actually, I thought it might be you. But anyway,
Excuse me?
was, one of my questions was, as like trying to step outside and look at this from like, for the first time is, so what are the maintenance things that are ongoing and what, what the feedback is that the town's gonna continue to have to keep this safe? Do we mention that on the website?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was in here on, it was like the.
Yeah.
who will ensure that the park buildings are properly constructed and maintained, and MEDEP via the environmental covenants associated with the process.
But what
Probably
about
it's,
all the air scrubbers and all that stuff? And
Yeah,
the
that was,
carbon and,
well, it talks about what
What
happened.
was-
One was deactivated, the soil vapor extraction system was deactivated, the other's an air stripper. And I suspect as the plume moves off site, that's going to be shut down at some point.
Yeah, I don't
It hasn't been doing much of late.
know.
That one
It's
has not been doing much
basically
at
not
night,
much
too.
remediation anymore. It's
Yeah.
just some monitoring.
Just burning electricity is
well,
all.
there's all this stuff that's on the site and is gonna remain on the site for a while, like pieces of leftover equipment. Do we need to,
I don't know of any equipment that's there. There's the landfill.
yeah.
You mean the little
They're all
building?
right
There's
there.
pipes,
Little
there's,
structure.
with
Well,
numbers
there's,
and
yeah,
all that stuff.
there's underground utilities, yeah, but I would,
In the old building, we can take those things down, that little,
There's
the
a whole
A-frame?
shed there.
A-frame building, can we remove that?
eventually it would be, if they decide to stop using the air stripper, they would remove that.
Okay.
That's where they has the pumps, right?
I thought they weren't doing theirs. A question for you, Max. Normally Sanborn Head sends a report every year and we didn't, I'm wondering when.
I don't know
we
whether we
don't
got
have
one
a
in 2025.
Well, we didn't get a 2024. We have 2023 as the most current. Do you know if one's come in?
I haven't seen.
I asked Julie if there had, and I never heard back, but I feel like we should see that maybe.
Yeah, it was in
Like Josh.
around the first of the year, that in January.
Usually they
Yeah.
do it, yeah,
Yeah.
in the first half of the year.
Yeah.
Marcus, can I?
But I feel like we should see that so we know exactly, because I'm not clear on what's still being monitored, if anything. I don't think the air strippers, they decided it wasn't really that effective, so they weren't using it. It's not like,
No,
it's
no, there were two systems. One was soil vapor extraction, and that has been discontinued.
okay,
I think the air stripper is still working,
okay,
and actually, we could get on there and listen to it.
that's true, but that'd be good to know and answer people's questions, like, what's that for then? In a frequently asked question,
A lot of stuff to trip over still, so
yeah, there are a few things.
if you went to take a look, say, oh, it's not so bad, and you went to go take a look and you find all this stuff there, you
Well,
go like,
Yeah, when,
Well, yeah, but the site is in development, it's
Yeah.
not yet a public park, so
yeah.
we, I mean, at some point, all of that will have to be
we have to
addressed.
deal with it like the cat.
Okay, any other comments about the website? The only other comment would be, who's making this?
Oh.
Is this
It's good at
something I have to do?
user-friendly websites. I definitely have no.
I
I
never built a website.
Yeah.
Me either.
A Clue one is.
I know that Julie offered to host it on the town website, of course.
Mhm.
And I think that the information that we have is pretty basic. I guess you could probably do like a scrollable, can you do like a one page where you would just scroll down
I'll,
and you'd get to every element, pass through every element? That would probably be the best, because then you'd open it on your phone and you just, instead of clicking to different.
I mean, Julie kind of helped put together was able to do some edits to the website, so I think she can do it, but.
Yeah.
Time.
Well, I think we're
Well,
gonna.
budget season
Season is over. She doesn't have time during budget season.
I think that we're gonna
As I
have
said, when budget
to
season's over, now she has all the time.
put together the elements. So let me just look at it again. So description of the project, okay. I think that's
I
something.
want to.
Yeah, go ahead.
On the description, I'm just wondering if we should say, and also it may be a potential site for other community. I'm
endeavors.
thinking like the food pantry, but other community
Assets,
asset or
Like
something.
Community garden.
Well, just
That-
for other,
Gardening.
other facilities that might benefit the community or
yeah,
something like that.
Unless you import a lot of topsoil.
You'd have to have a raised bed.
No, I'm not thinking community garden or, but like a farmer's market or a.
Well, that's an
the food
element
pantry.
that would be included in a picture.
Yeah.
It's very
Very
popular,
easily,
so
yeah.
that's already covered.
Yeah.
But just
raised bed
saying,
gardens,
yeah,
too.
We don't know, like if the food pantry came to us as we were well along, but if there's something else like that that came, just to have an opening for.
Yeah, we can
facility
add language
information.
about that this is an open process.
And the other thing is I'll send, Joe made comments to the timeline, which I thought were good. So I'll send you a revised version of the timeline.
Thank you.
to
That was the other
include.
document,
Maybe
yeah.
somebody can make it look more appealing, but, but I'll
The
send that.
timeline to date or ahead?
No,
have
to
any-
date, to
just to
date,
date?
yeah.
Yeah, the one that I put up or sent way back.
Okay, so we can include some of the timeline too. All right, so we have the timeline that you're gonna update. This is safe statement with the description. Okay, that's not hard to do. The vote with the name, not hard. Results of online survey, easy. Okay, so maybe anyone will actually want to provide nice photos of areas of the site. That would be really useful.
Jan Griesenbach did a lot of area, I mean.
Okay, maybe we can I can email Jan and see if he'd be
Yeah, that would
interested.
Be a nice spot, just, and there's the
they-
pad,
they
but
look
hopefully,
kind of Intense.
yeah,
but
he took
there's
some of the pad and I
Yeah.
don't know if we.
Maybe he wants to do some new one. He's
Yeah.
taking photos all the
I'm
time.
thinking of like landscapes, you know, a landscape showing the river.
Yeah,
and-
the
and-
view
And
from
those
that
pines,
point.
there are some
Mm.
white pines in there that I was walking through there saying, oh my God, this is beautiful.
And so
Right.
You
that
know.
big oak.
Yeah.
They're really hard to photograph.
It's not a great time of year in terms
Yeah.
of.
That's true.
Well, the pines.
In
are not
another
bad.
month, it'll be at night, you know. the
Well,
maples
I
will
guess what
fall.
I'm asking is, can someone just continue to think about that so that
Okay.
as time goes on and you have a camera or are able, feel free to wander down and take nice photographs.
And we can
Just
see.
the
if
more we
Jan
have to
took them.
choose from, the better it is.
Yeah.
Actually, it's photographing them after a snowfall. It's actually better
that would
because
be
they
great.
have better
that's
shapes. Yeah.
Well. let's see.
Okay, all right, and
You can see them on the ground. plan.
I think what we're gonna have to do is just go through the survey results, identify the most popular items and find photos or images of that. I can come up with what the list would be, and then we could just figure out how to get, those are easy, just find them online. Not a problem. We have a trail map. Yeah, okay, maybe this is not that hard. It's just the time. This should take some time. Okay. Okay, anything else about the website?
I think we keep it to a minimum.
Yeah,
You
Yeah.
don't want to overload people because they'll just,
and they could be links, and if they want to look at the timeline. they
That's
can look
right.
at the Time, yeah.
So we're giving it to the person who's not here. Is that
Yeah.
what we're doing?
Well, I
If you
will,
wanna
I
call
will
it,
help
do
put
that.
it, the information. together.
compile everything and then.
Yes,
Yeah,
And
no, it's
then-
a matter of actually putting it on there. Yeah.
Julie would be, someone else has actually put it on.
Yeah.
The town website, which is, okay. All right,
We received a letter, the food pantry received a letter from somebody who, in their town that she moved when she retired from, same thing as the Sylvania site, they capped and they built, they built, a park on top of it.
You know, and
There are a lot of examples that we should maybe.
oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
when I go talk to the food pantry, it isn't whether there's hazardous materials on the site, it's whether you're going to be exposed to them. That's
Yep.
the issue.
Mhm.
And we're sitting under fluorescent lights,
Mhm.
which are known to contain mercury. Are we in any danger?
Right.
No, not unless somebody goes up and smashes the bulb.
Yep.
Right.
You know, so,
Good point.
Well,
Yeah.
now it's
you know, it's whether or not you're
That's a
exposed to
good way
them.
to put
Yeah.
it.
So on that question, you write here, this buried landfill is surrounded by the proposed park. Is it surrounding the perimeter, the outer perimeter of the park? I think that might be more accurate.
No,
So here it says
Here's,
Now, the park would include some of the restricted,
the buried landfill surrounded by the proposed park.
no, that doesn't make sense. I mean,
That's
That
not-
sounds a little too.
what are the
vague.
two, what are the areas that are restricted or the?
these are these, I mean, it's the whole path.
Beyond the, sorry, beyond the path.
There's this one.
Well, the landfills are over here, so.
Yeah, this is over here.
Yeah.
But the pad area with courts and things is
Yeah.
over here.
Yeah.
But the trails are over here. Yeah.
So those squares are the landfills.
All right.
Yes,
or
That
in-
they actually use where the dumping is. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there you wouldn't want kids digging for sure.
Do you have an extra copy of that? Because
I'll send you, I don't have a paper, but I'll send you.
Max
the-
can send you the digital version. You can get it
I-
printed
Yeah,
at.
yeah.
I can do it right
yeah,
now.
I don't,
You don't have.
I don't
that
have
would
one
be
either.
important to be able to hand that out at the meeting.
Yeah,
with them.
well, and showing that
I'll
these
send
are
you-
the
Yeah.
dump
Or
sites.
Max, maybe you could.
That's why that wording is,
you wanna
is
make-
the park doesn't surround it.
Yeah, the park is all around. It just
Well, I
does
meant-
surround it.
I meant, I thought you were referring to this.
No, the park is the whole
park
thing.
is this whole thing.
Like the trails are all down here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is the property line right here.
So it's, we're thinking the whole piece and maybe even some of the Hofs's land someday. You know.
Well, the Hodges land is technically part of it.
It's part
It
of
is,
the.
it's
park,
part of the
but our
39 acre
current
parcel,
design
yes.
Doesn't go onto it yet.
It's all one big park.
Oh, the design.
But I think we're all talking about the different phases we're talking.
Right.
Yeah.
The concrete is one big area, the trails that are in the rest of it are a big area, where the nature play area is gonna be is the next, like.
What is the blue line?
That's a pending restricted area, which apparently is always going to be pending because the flow is this way.
Okay.
And these were two, the outer wells, and they showed that the contaminants were there.
Okay.
We don't have any sentinel wells, as
Yeah.
it's called, to say that it ends here. So that's why it's probably moving on to the adjacent land.
Yep, okay.
But I thought I gave.
Yeah,
everyone a-
I.
But I'll send it around to everybody in case
If
you
I
don't
can get
have
8.5
it.
by 11 so that I can attach it to this when I talk to them.
Yeah.
If you send it to me electronically, I can print it on a color printer.
I mean, it's,
You want to do that, or I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, if you have the.
And
digital copy,
maybe you could do by 11/17,
I
so.
can't-
I mean, for the food pantry, this would be a very useful document because let's say you wanted to put a building there, well, that's not in the restricted zone.
Yeah.
Or let's say you wanted to put a building there, well, that's not in the restricted zone. So it's just as if you bought the lot next door or you bought a building.
No,
here.
I understand, yeah, I understand that. That's what Mike has got to explain to folks.
Yeah,
And those yellow squares are Janet's.
These are Janet's.
Oh, that was, Yeah.
You're moving the food pantry now.
yeah, that was
What are they?
way bigger than 4,000 square feet, those squares.
Yeah,
So
she's
you-
just showing how big it is on the site.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
New business. The Maine Bureau of Parks and Lands remote training sessions for grant applications for the main trial program. Was this one of Carl's items?
Yeah, I can try and run through both Carl's items.
Okay.
So this first one for the remote training session, so there are a series of workshops going over the bond for the trails that was approved last November or so. I'm, for one, have already signed up for this Thursday, and I think Bob Butler's signed up as well. I think the link was sent out to everyone, so if anyone wants to join, you're certainly welcome to, but just know that there's at least 2 other people. Are you signed up for any of them, or?
No.
No. Well, I'll send it to you as well if you want, but that'll be at least 2 people from Waldeboro who are already watching and hearing when we're gonna get that trail funding, so that's
Okay.
on the horizon. They have multiple days as well, and times. The second one was the invasive plant control.
Yeah.
I needed to pull it up on here just so. So this was the invasive plant management webinar for April 22nd at noon. This is a free, webinar that's gonna be done by the Knox Lincoln Soil Water Conservation Group, the Maine Natural Areas Program, and Maine Forest Services. Carl sent this to everyone in the email when he was saying that he couldn't make it today. So you all do have that form in your emails if you are interested in signing up. I'll sign up for it. So it'll be something.
Also, well, what if you sign up, and I'm away that week, but Kristen, the woman who, at least she used to be in charge of it at Maine Naturalist Program, will come to a site.
Hmm.
Like this, probably at the request of the town. So at some point, we could ask her to do that and sort of get a sense of what's involved.
This is also for a grant to help manage invasive species.
I'll probably remove some, at least the multiflora
Right.
foods.
Yeah, I know that was something that
Grant
was
help.
discussed a bit early on, like there were some invasive plants that I think were found on the property.
There's a lot,
Barberries.
like you can't even walk through
Just a little bit.
sections because of the, especially the multiflora rose. Just shredded my coat again because of that.
I've been fighting a war on my own property against all those things.
Other things are bad, but that's.
So, sorry, go ahead, yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, so those are the two seminars that are coming up that might be helpful for this. I'll sign up for the both of them. Anyone else is welcome to join.
I think, yes, thank you. I think one important question would be, yeah, whether we can get funding or assistance in managing or eradicating the invasive species as a way to encourage people to explore the site, but is that not allowed technically? Can people wander on the site?
Yeah.
Okay. Because another way we could be generating support is.
I do, at least.
is-
Well, I don't think we really want to encourage that.
Well, so it's a longer term question about like,
Yeah.
well, if we started managing invasives and things just to be more inviting for
Right.
people.
We could have.
Well, once you
actually,
put up a sign, people are gonna,
if we're
People
doing
are gonna wander.
invasives, we can have, I mean, a lot of the invasive controls that say land trusts or park people do is getting a cadre of volunteers.
Yes,
We can have
right.
a volunteer day and help
Yes.
start to, like you were doing.
Well, I'm
You have to
I'm
use
using
Roundup.
herbicides, and
Yeah,
you using herbicides on this site is probably preferable to mechanical
digging up.
because especially the
okay.
roses and the barberries, if you don't get the root.
Yep.
They just come back.
Plus
Well-
you don't want to necessarily yank them up.
And I
Yeah.
think that's why we talked about the invasive plants, but I think there was like, we put it on the back burner because we didn't know if we could remove them.
Got it.
Because of the DEP's whole thing with removing things from the site. I think that was just a thing we haven't.
I guess we'll have to
Clarify.
ask them
Yeah, I'll
that,
have to
because there's
check
just a
with
little,
them.
for the little ones, you can easily
Yeah.
dig them up and it doesn't disturb the soil much, but for the big ones, you want to paint
So I guess that's
each stem.
that's my question to Max Luke for the month.
Okay,
okay.
because I guess it's a
And
general
this, I guess.
question of
I've got
land.
a backpack sprayer, but
No, you don't want to do, I don't think we should do that. I think the public,
So with the
Any type
larger-
of commercial spraying has to go through.
yeah, you have to get a
license.
licensed person
Oh,
to
yeah.
do it
no,
for sure, but the easier way is there's these little things, you just apply it to the stem, one stem at a time.
what is the thing? What is the
Roundup.
painted- Oh, with Roundup, yeah.
It is also a broader question of landscaping, like how much are we able to, I mean, we're gonna have to landscape the park to some degree.
Yeah, I know, I
There's a
feel
space, there's a
unclear about
space.
planting trees or shrubs or what we can
Yeah.
do. We don't really know, do we?
Well,
But
there's quite a bit of area that is outside of, screen just screen the pad and to go along the, make it a nicer entryway. And, quite a bit of area that's outside the orange line, so.
Well,
And also, we're gonna have the rubble filling up that grade difference, so we can make pockets within that we bring in. People seem to want shade around the slab.
yeah, I mean, building the trails, I guess it's just cutting things down and clearing, but may involve some digging up. And certainly if invasives are around all those trail areas, they would have to be gone.
well, the covenant I'm just looking at now, we need permission from DEP to do anything, any disturbance to the soil anywhere on the site, not just in that.
Yeah.
So we just need to ask if we can plant trees or shrubs and.
So
With the
even
dirt.
like the house property?
Yep.
Anything? Can't put a tree over there?
Yep, says anywhere on the entirety of the property. And then the restricted zone is obviously more restrictive.
All right. Landscaping
Okay.
questions are topic for Max Luke.
Yeah, that'll be helpful, but yeah, that's a real challenge, in
It is.
terms of. What do you want to do first to encourage people to think more about the space? When
Mhm.
every step of the way we have to check in, even if ultimately it's okay.
Well, I think we need to, once we get farther down the road, list all the things we want to do, invasive species management, planting, and get DEP's approval. I'm guessing they will, certainly outside of the restricted. But just hopefully they'll sign off, so we don't have to go every time.
Yeah. So does someone want to motion to rename the committee?
Oh, we're on the last item?
Right? Do you have more to say about this?
No,
too?
no, no,
So-
I didn't know. I didn't.
What? Oh, yeah, you
Madamic-
put the acronym.
Economic
Yeah.
River
Madamic
Community.
River Committee. Or the Community Park Committee. What?
MRCP.
Park and-
Sounds a lot nicer than Sylvania redevelopment.
Yeah, I would agree.
I make a motion that we change the name of the committee to, do we have to vote on this?
I think so.
Yeah,
To the Madamic River Community
second it.
Park.
Committee, there you
Okay.
go.
All that, those that approve?
Any discussion?
Do we keep the word redevelopment in there? No, we just leave that out. Just
Oh, for the
committee.
committee?
No,
No.
I think we can just say Park Committee.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, right.
All in favor?
All right.
Okay, so then,
When's your birthday? We want to make sure we get something done.
do we want to put up a sign?
Sure.
Do we want to put up a sign? Should we think about that now?
Future site.
Future site of the wall of, oops. Madamic River Community Park.
Future site.
Yeah, future
Wait.
site of,
With a QR code to the website.
definitely.
Oh, yeah, great idea.
That's a great idea.
I'm wondering if, I mean, I think it's a good idea, but how many years have we been on this? If we do that and then nothing happens for 6, 8 months, like if we
2
hear
years.
about these grants, for instance, then we have something really positive and we're actually, hopefully you're gonna see something visible happen there.
It's gonna take that long anyway
Oh,
to make the
gosh.
sign.
Yeah, it will, but does that matter?
You're
I mean,
saying,
It
yeah.
might be good. Susan had her hand up.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
yeah.
Susan.
I was just gonna say, I just put a statement on there. This, projects like this take a long time. For updates, please check the website. Just a statement that there's
Yeah.
an expectation that these things take time and.
You mean a statement on the sign?
A small statement that says.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Because the reality is,
As people fly down that road.
I think to what Janet was saying, I think kind of
Yeah.
going off what Janet was, because we're expecting to hear from the National Park Service by the end of the month, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we can
Yes.
hold off the sign maybe for
Yes, I
one,
agree with
maybe 2 months until that way we can have all the information on the
Yeah.
website ready. And if the National Park Services gives us the thumbs up, that's
It's
that's
great.
that's the way to
That's-
generate some interest
Yeah.
as well.
Nice little
Okay.
tagline.
Yeah.
yeah, so
No, I
let's
think we
wait
can
till the
definitely wait
website's
until
ready
that.
and so people say, well, what is that? And then it's all there.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna run into our first problem, which is, can we excavate for post holes to hold this sign up?
Actually, there's a,
Can we
There is
cover
a
one of the ugly
sign.
signs?
You would have to make a ballasted.
yeah,
Yeah,
I can do that.
Max.
Yeah.
I guess that's the thing. Well, I mean, I'm already asking Lewick for the landscaping, so
Question for that, Max. Luke.
There is a sign thing, halfway down this slab here.
That's fine.
Not
But it'd be nice to have it up by the tables,
Yeah,
hopefully could
We ought to
go,
remove that sign.
I know, it's.
well, in general, I'll just. ask
Can
for-
you?
Yeah, can we again?
I've got a tractor, I can.
In the middle of the night.
It's not. But yeah, ask Max if we could put one, not hopefully back there, but where it's visible from.
The road.
from the
road.
Adventure Road.
Yeah.
Where there used to be it seemed like there was a front door entrance into the office building and there's like an old mailbox stand or something over there.
Box is still there.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so we will wait on the timing of that, but it's a good idea that we all agree on. And so just to circle back, something that Alec brought up, did you want to talk a little bit about the Economic Development Committee's signage project?
Sure. We've been looking at signage for the 3 different primary access areas to Waldeboro, up by Moody's. Down below, on south of Main Street, where that comes out on Route 1.
Where the car.
And then,
park
of
is.
course, here, which will also end up having probably a light put in, but we're looking at different designs for a consistent look. And we're down to like 4 that we like, and they're going to be for the next meeting. Bless you. Earlier, beginning of next month. because we had our meeting last Tuesday. We'll have, and I'll have samples of what those look like.
And then they will be shared with the public for feedback.
Yeah,
Yes, they will
it
be.
may not hold up this sign because this is gonna say this won't, is not gonna be the final sign.
No,
Yeah, I don't.
no, I know. I guess what I was, well, first of all, you had brought it up, so I wanted to
Yep.
bring it back into the conversation, but also it's possible that some of the elements from the sign
Color,
could
yeah.
color could be used on the website, just very, very basic
Yeah.
beginning to
Tie-in.
pull
Tie-in.
tie-ins, yeah. So that would be the way to do it.
Nice.
Anything else? Any other comments?
Yeah, like you.
That's all I can ask. Copy.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second from Jim.
Okay.